This is the story of a boy who, in order to save his life, hides his identity and starts working in a convent. The nuns of this convent are religious only in appearance. In reality, their minds are filled with very strange desires. But when a change comes into his life, a unique turn occurs when he falls in love with a nun there. However, there are some secrets hidden in the life of that nun, which the boy must face, leading to a lot of difficulties. So, the story starts at that time. The story begins when the plague epidemic had started in Europe and millions of people were dying all around. At the same time, we are shown a church where a man named Justin is painting. He tells about himself, that earlier his father was a thief and used to steal with him. But in those days, the punishment for stealing was the cutting off of both hands, which is why he started painting. Now we see outside the church where a boy named Lorenzo is running away. Many soldiers are after him because Lorenzo had won a lot of money in gambling from a man named Zerban, but Zerbin was a royal soldier who did not like to lose. So, he went after him with his men. However, Lorenzo was very clever, and he could not be caught by them. He killed 2 of their men and ran away from there, after which Gabino ordered the other soldiers to catch him as soon as possible. Later, we see that a friend of Lorenzo brings a horse for him and asks him to run away from there. Meanwhile, Justin, who has been painting for a long time, is inside the church. He had not received his payment, so he goes to the church father, but he sees that the church father had died due to the plague. Then he gets an idea. He would not get the money now, but why don't I become the father myself? From this, he could get food items and lots of money. Then he picks up a cloth of the father lying there, and becomes the father of the church. After this, we see Princess Penelope, who is crying in front of the photo of her parents. Then Gabino comes there and tells her, "I am sorry that your parents died because of the plague. But don't be sad, I am here to take care of you." Hearing this, the princess starts leaving. Then Gabino says, "Your father had taken a lot of loans from me for business, but he was not able to repay it on time. But he saved his life before dying. Earlier, I was told to marry you so that you would be safe here." But Penelope replies that her marriage has been fixed with Russian Prince Elgin, who is coming here within a week, and she will marry only him. Gabino insists that he will take care of her, not to worry. But if she doesn't marry him, she will have to repay all his debt, which is why her father must have thought carefully before asking her to marry him. Upon this, the princess is forced to agree. Actually, Gabino was telling all these lies to get the princess. On the other hand, we see Lorenzo, who while running away from those soldiers, reaches a place where he meets a man carrying a dead body. Upon asking, he tells Lorenzo that there is a convent in a village some distance from there where many nuns live, and he has brought this dead man from there too. He was the gardener of that convent. Lorenzo asks, "Can I get the job in place of that gardener now?" To which the man replies that only a deaf and dumb person is hired for this job. Lorenzo realizes he will not get the job now. We will know later why a deaf and dumb person is kept for garden work in that convent. Meanwhile, a policeman arrives, and Lorenzo starts moving towards the convent, but after going some distance, he gets an idea. He leaves his horse ahead and climbs a tree to deceive those soldiers, who also get fooled and move ahead. However, as soon as they leave, the branch of the tree breaks, and he falls down and becomes unconscious. Then we see that some nuns come there. Upon seeing Lorenzo unconscious, they take him to the convent where he is made to lie down on a table, and 2 nuns start looking at him carefully. It seems that they are desperate to touch Lorenzo when a nun tells the others that she should remove his clothes and check if he is hurt anywhere. Then she lifts his shirt a little to check, cannot resist, and starts touching him. Lorenzo is conscious but is enjoying all this while pretending to be unconscious. One of the nuns is about to kiss Lorenzo, but their mother comes there, gets scared, stands up straight, and tells the mother, "This boy is still alive, and we are sure that God has sent him for us." Then the mother asks Lorenzo through gestures, "Can you hear and speak?" Lorenzo, already knowing everything, replies, "No," so that he can get the job due to being deaf and dumb. She becomes very happy upon knowing this, and says that really God has sent him for them. Then she tells both the nuns to take him, give him a good bath, and feed him. After this, Lorenzo is given water in the tub to take a bath, and here we come to know why these people employ a deaf and dumb person. Because all the nuns will do whatever they want with him, he will not be able to say anything nor will he be able to answer anyone's questions, and Lorenzo had also understood this completely. On the other hand, Penelope was upset because of Gabino, so she went to her friends to ask for help. She calls them to the church. she has two friends named Elisa and Simona, and they also have boyfriends named Boris and Banadu. Now Penelope tells her friends that she needs their help because Jabino is trying to force her to marry him under the pressure of debt. Meanwhile, Jabino comes there and asks them what is going on, saying there is no need to pray here. Everyone should go to their respective homes. After this, he threatens Boris and Banadu with a sword and orders them to take their girlfriends away from there. At the same time, Painter Justin calls out from above and says that there will be no bloodshed here. "I am the father of this church," he declares, "and this is God's house, so all of you should leave here." After hearing the father, the people leave, and then we see that Penelope's friends decide to take her away secretly from Jabino so that she remains safe before the prince arrives. They decide to take Penelope to another village where he has another palace, and the marriage will take place there. But before the prince arrives, she will stay in a nearby convent. Along with this, they also take Father Justin of the church with them so that he can get them married. They decide that they will send Penelope there first, and the next day everyone else will leave for the palace along with the father. In the next scene, Penelope is taken to that convent by horse carriage, and this is the same convent where Lorenzo is. After reaching the convent, two nuns come there and start dressing her like them. Then Penelope notices Lorenzo and asks, "Who is this boy?" The nuns tell her that he is their gardener, and has been sent to them by God. "He's a very nice and dumb boy." Knowing that Lorenzo is deaf, Penelope feels pity for him and likes him a lot. Later, we see that Prince Alexandro of Russia is there with his soldiers, and after meeting Jabino, he is called Prince Alexandro of Penelope. "I have brought some gifts for you and your wife," he states rudely to Jabino. "Do you know who you are talking to?" "I am Penelope's would-be husband," Jabino retorts. "Pack your things and don't do anything to me. First, get out of here." Hearing this, Alexandro arrogantly replies, "I have not traveled for so many days to hear that you are going to marry my princess. It is I who will marry the princess." After coming out of the palace, Alexandro is met by a special man who gives him something and informs him that it is written that his marriage will take place with Penelope in another palace, and that right now the princess is hiding in a convent in a nearby village, waiting for his arrival. Meanwhile, two nuns come to Lorenzo's room with food and say, "We know that you cannot hear or speak, but we believe that God has sent you for us, and we want you to talk to us in the same way you did with those two nuns after coming the first time." On this, Lorenzo agrees to chat with them. On the other hand, Elisa and Simona, along with their boyfriends and everyone else, are coming towards the palace through the forest. But on the way, when their buggy goes ahead, two girls come from behind and start calling Boris and Banadu with gestures. They think that these must be village girls, so both of them follow them. Then they see that those girls are calling them by bike. They take them to the stable and say, "We have cows. If you want, you can extract fresh milk and drink it. If you don't know how to milk, we will teach you." After this, both the girls start teaching them how to milk, which Boris and Banadu start enjoying. While doing this, slowly both of them climb on them and have a good time feeding him milk. Meanwhile, Simona reaches there, sees their antics, scolds them, and takes them away from there. At the same time, in the convent before evening, two nuns come and bathe Lorenzo properly, after which they give him to Mother Nun who takes him to their room for dinner. Penelope sees her taking him away, and by now, she has realized what is going on, but she gets jealous because she is slowly starting to like Lorenzo. The next day, after working in the garden for a while, Lorenzo comes to his room and starts humming a song in a low voice. Then Penelope arrives there with food and hears his voice, but she does not let him understand and puts the food in front of him. Lorenzo had become used to the fact that some nun comes for him every day, so he starts removing Penelope's mask, but she stops him and begins to blindfold him, saying, "I see you every day, and I have started loving you too, but not like those nuns, in a very different way." Saying this, she kisses him lovingly, and then goes away from there. Now Lorenzo starts thinking about who this nun is who has fallen in love with him, but he also falls in love with her in his heart. Penelope sees Lope's friends who are resting at a place on the way. Justin says that he will reach there through the jungle route, and they can take the cart and luggage and reach there through the road. Meanwhile, the prince, along with his soldiers, is searching for Penelope. He is coming from the forest, but on the way, Jabino's soldiers surround them and kill all his soldiers with arrows. However, the prince somehow manages to escape from there. After going a long distance, he reaches a pond. In this pond, there is Penelope, and while drinking water from it, the prince sees her and asks, "Who are you?" Elisa says. I am a bride who is waiting for her groom. The prince says. I am the princess of this place, Penelope. I love her very much, and I will marry her. Hearing this, Elisa says that she is Penelope, and she is the one they are searching for. After this, she goes to the prince and starts clinging to him. The prince also agrees, and both of them start kissing each other there. Later, after the completion of a week, Penelope is now going to the palace where she will get married to the prince. But first, she goes to her mother and tells her everything, that Lorenzo is not deaf and dumb because yesterday she heard him singing a song in the garden house. This makes the mother think that he will expose them, after which the mother goes and pushes Lorenzo out of the convent. After some time, we see Penelope coming out of the palace, and a horse-drawn carriage comes her way. Lorenzo sees it and asks, "Where are you going? Can you take me with you?" Actually, Lorenzo knows Penelope as a princess because he also lives in the same city. But Lorenzo does not know that Penelope is living here as a nun. Now Penelope wants to take Lorenzo out of the convent and take him with her, and that is what happens. She takes Lorenzo and leaves from there. In the next scene, Penelope reaches the palace with Lorenzo, and Lorenzo is married to her. He wishes good luck for the wedding and starts to leave from there, but Penelope says, "You can stay here till the wedding. No one has reached the palace yet for the wedding." So he agrees. Now both of them are talking to each other inside the palace. During their conversation, Penelope asks about the marriage, to which Lorenzo replies, "I will marry the woman who kissed me for the first time. She came to me dressed as a nun, but I could not see her. Whatever happens, I will marry her because I love her." Hearing this, Penelope becomes even happier because she knows that she was the one who kissed him and that she too has started loving him very much. Now they both go to the garden where Penelope kisses Lorenzo, and he wonders how they feel about it. Lorenzo says, "I am sure that my fate will bring her in front of me." After which she goes close to him and says, "Why don't you close your eyes and kiss me? Maybe you will find the mother-in-law that is in that girl." Penelope wanted to remind him that she was the one who kissed him, but just as they are about to kiss, Gabino arrives with his men. Penelope gets scared and asks Lorenzo to leave. But Lorenzo already knows Gabino, and he comes to confront him. A fight begins between the two, but Gabino overpowers him and is about to kill him when Penelope saves him. "If you hit me, then I will never marry you." Hearing this, Lorenzo is shocked and asks, "You are going to marry this old man? Is he your prince?" Penelope is unable to say anything. After that, Gabino takes Lorenzo to the palace, locking him in the prison. Then the next day, we see Penelope and Gabino talking where Penelope says, "If you want to marry me, then you have to leave Lorenzo." But Gabino doesn't agree, to which she says, "If you don't free him, then I will jump into this well and die." Gabino agrees and sets Lorenzo free. Later we see Justin becoming a father and reaching the palace to get the princess married as per the plan. Before the marriage, there is a confession of the bride and groom in which the princess tells the father that she is being forced to marry Gabino but that she loves Lorenzo and wants to marry him only. She makes a plan by giving some gold coins to her father and says Lorenzo does not know that she is his love, but she is sure that he will definitely come to save her again. The prince will also be arriving here, so delay the marriage somehow until he arrives. On the other side, two men of Gabino are taking Lorenzo away through the forest after releasing him from captivity. After taking him to a place, they are about to kill him from behind, but before that, Lorenzo punches both of them and knocks them unconscious. Meanwhile, the prince reaches there with his horse and asks Lorenzo where the princess's palace is. Lorenzo shows him the way and asks him why he is looking for the palace. The prince replies that he is looking for Princess Penelope. Upon hearing this, Lorenzo also starts following them with a sword. In the palace, it is shown that the wedding of Penelope and Gabino has started and Justin is also present as the father to marry them. But according to the plan, the wedding has to be delayed. So Justin starts asking unnecessary questions to Gabino and asks him, "Have you taken a bath? If you haven't, then go and take a bath quickly. Your hands are so dirty, and your nails are also long. First of all, wash your hands." Gabino gets angry, saying, "I will go and wash my hands, and then I will stand there." But now Justin is not able to stop the marriage for long. Meanwhile, the prince arrives and starts shooting at Gabino's men. Lorenzo also arrives, and together they begin defeating all of Gabino's men. After a long fight, both of them kill all of Gabino's men, and the prince takes Gabino to the well, where Lorenzo was already standing and watching all this. He says, "This prey is mine, and I will kill it." After this, a fight starts between Lorenzo and Gibino, and after a long battle between the two, finally Lorenzo kills him and throws him in the well, and Gibino dies there. After that, the prince thanks Lorenzo for his help, and both become friends. Then Penelope comes there, and the prince goes to her and says, "I have come to marry you." But Penelope responds, "I cannot marry you because I love someone else." Saying this, she removes the cloth from her face. The prince looks at her and exclaims, "You are not my Penelope." In the meantime, her friend Elisa arrives and introduces herself as Penelope. When Elisa met the prince in the forest, claiming to be Penelope, the prince sees her and declares, "She is my Penelope. She is the one I will marry because I love her." Now Lorenzo has left, and Penelope runs outside to stop him, asking, "Where are you going?" "I love you." But Lorenzo replies, "You are very beautiful and a very good girl, no doubt, but I am going to find the girl whom I love and will marry her." "You don't need to go anywhere, just close your eyes," Penelope replies. After that, she kisses him in the same way she did the first time, which makes Lorenzo realize that she was the girl who kissed him. Seeing this, all his friends are happy, and now all the couples start kissing each other. This loving moment concludes the story. Friends, I hope you liked this story. See you with another interesting tale.